Ahoy, hoy! Welcome back to another episode of the Cultura Inglesa Podcast. Eu sou o Caio Copato.
Eu sou o William Bueno.
Se você sempre quis saber os papos que rolam na sala dos professores, especialmente nesse período de férias, você veio ao lugar certo. E aí, Bill, terminou o semestre, já vai sair de férias, como é que tá aquela emoção?
É triste, né? Porque eu gosto muito do meu trabalho e é uma sensação estranha, assim, né? Mas tudo bem, vou estar pensando todo dia na sala de aula.
Você não vai aproveitar nada das suas
Não,
férias?
vou com
Você não tá
certeza.
ansioso, assim,
Inclusive, tem tudo a ver com o assunto de hoje, talvez vai ser a atividade principal.
Mas você vai sentir falta dos seus alunos,
Sim.
né? De toda a interação.
Vocês sabem que eu amo vocês, né? Não sei se algum tá assistindo, mas... Eu falei pra eles que valia a nota se assistissem, então acho que sim.
Acho que sim, então eles vão estar assistindo, com certeza. Os meus, eu acho que alguns vão estar, alguns não. Mas tudo bem. Legal, então vamos começar aqui o nosso episódio de hoje com o nosso bloco My Bad.
O My Bad é aquele momento mea culpa, né? Aquela errata, para quem gosta de jornal, no qual nós assumimos aqui algum deslize, pode ser linguístico, pode ser de pronúncia, e até informações também errôneas, que até hoje nada, né?
Não, na verdade a gente deixou passar algumas
inteligência
coisas.
artificial, mas tudo bem, esquece, já foi.
Mas acontece e a gente sempre traz aqui, né, os nossos pedidos de desculpa, né, porque temos um compromisso com a verdade neste programa. E lembrando que se você não quiser assistir aqui esses comentários sobre o nosso episódio passado e que nós falamos sobre festivais e festividades ao redor do mundo, você pode pular diretamente para o começo desse episódio aqui no YouTube. Só pule para o próximo capítulo. Muito bem. Bill, olha só, eu anotei aqui alguns deslizes que aconteceram no nosso último episódio. E o primeiro foi meu. Então, meu first, my bad, aqui. A gente tá usando aqui camisas xadrez, né? Eu fiz a piadinha, falei que a gente ia falar sobre o movimento grunge. Mas aí eu já tava falando inglês nessa parte do programa e na verdade
misturou
em inglês
e português.
Exato, a gente fala grunge.
Grunge.
Né? O grunge. Explica aí pra galera o que era o grunge.
The Grunge Movement, né? Então, principalmente ali na cidade de Seattle, no estado de Washington, certo?
Exato.
Eles tinham aquela coisa, né? Ali no final dos anos 80 tava muito em alto o glam rock, né? Aquela coisa da maquiagem, os cabelões. E eles quiseram fazer um negócio já mais cru, mais orgânico. E as plaid shirts eram o principal item ali do vestuário deles. Então, bandas como Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, né?
Juntos. Pegando verde.
Caramba, tem verde? Não tem, mas tudo bem. É isso.
E a palavra grunge quer dizer, né, sugismundo, né, maltrapilho.
Caramba, sugismundo, muito boa essa palavra.
É muito bom, né?
Muito bom, sugismundo, cara.
Né, sempre
nossa, muito
tem
da
uma
hora.
iluminação, acho que essa luz aqui, ela me inspira muito.
Curti.
Mas enfim, né, grunge, então, in English, certo? Um outro problema foi esse aqui, você quer falar sobre isso?
Cara, então, essa hora aí eu dei uma geladinha, porque assim, eu até pensei, será que eu que confundi? O que acontece? Houve um momento, né, no qual foi dito que algo como assim, I almost passed away.
Não, na verdade a gente tava falando do Dia de los Muertos do México.
Ah, é isso, né? Mesmo.
E
to
aí...
honor people who have passed out. Então, o que acontece? Olha a importância dos phrasal verbs, né? Pass out é desmaiar. Pass away é um pouco além, né? Quando a pessoa falece.
Né?
Então, tem que tomar muito cuidado com isso, tá? Né? Por exemplo, você vai no médico em outro país, né? E aí, what happened? I passed away yesterday and now I'm here.
Muito
o médico
complicado, né?
O médico vai sair correndo e tal, de medo. Então, passed out, desmaiei. Passed away, faleci. Na verdade, na primeira pessoa não faz sentido nenhum, mas tudo bem.
Exatamente,
você entendeu, né? Então, passed
no,
away.
No one said ever, né?
Exactly. Então, pass away, falecer, pass out, desmaiar. Espero que nenhum aconteça, né?
Nenhum dos dois, nenhum dos dois é legal.
Okay.
Mas muito fácil de confundir, né? Porque muda só uma palavrinha, né? Muda só ali a preposição no final. Então, assim, é um erro bastante
comum, com
né?
certeza, com certeza.
Mas, assim, bastante, assim, irônico, né? De se cometer, né? Muito bem. E um outro erro que aconteceu aqui durante a nossa conversa, que também é bem comum, foi I realized my dreams. Estavam falando de festivais, né? De ir a festivais de música, né? E esses false cognates, né, são muito comuns, né, que são palavras que elas lembram bastante, né, elas se assemelham tanto na forma que elas são escritas, como na própria maneira de se pronunciar, elas se assemelham muito com palavras em português, que na verdade é bastante comum na língua inglesa, né? Tem muitas palavras que derivam ali do latim, mas nem sempre elas são confiáveis, né? A gente brinca e fala que são os falsos amigos, os false friends, né? Então, na verdade, a gente não usa I realized pra dream, né? I realize é tipo, eu entendi, eu compreendi.
Percebi, né?
Eu percebi, né? Quando a gente fala de sonhos, na verdade a gente usa mais collocations como I made my dream come true, né?
Se eu não me engano, realize não tá errado, realize my dream. Eu acho que é possível. Só que aí é a questão de accuracy e appropriacy que a gente fala. Então, o que acontece? São palavras que não... E principalmente Latin words, né? Muitas palavras que vêm do latim... muitos nativos da língua inglesa, eles nem conhecem essas palavras. Então, realize my dream, eu acho que é possível, mas ninguém usa. Tipo, não é usado. Então, por isso que é muito mais seguro, né? Usar I made my dream come true. Mas eu acho que existe.
Ah, legal.
Só que não fale, não use, tá? Não
use, parecido com aquela questão que a gente discutiu naquele episódio com o Marcel, se não me engano, de falar I have facilities, né? Que a gente sempre né, tenta corrigir porque não soa como apropriado, mas na verdade é porque ela é uma palavra, um jeito muito formal de falar.
Exatamente.
Né? E é um ponto interessante que o Bill mencionou aí também, né? Essas palavras que derivam do latim, elas tendem a ser extremamente formais, assim, não é uma coisa muito comum de se ver em um bate-papo assim mais informal, e muitas vezes nem os próprios falantes nativos
reconhecem,
por isso que tem essa estranheza. Né?
E depois eu vou verificar se é verdade isso, senão eu falo no My Bad da semana que vem que não existe
isso
realize mesmo.
É isso aí, a gente checa e traz a informação aí. Muito bem, então hoje no nosso papo vamos conversar com ela, Débora Bonifácio, a Débora que é coordenadora acadêmica, ela é mãe da Babi, uma menina muito legal, divertida. Ela é DJ e ela é gamer das antigas. Débora, welcome to the podcast.
Obrigada. Super happy to be here. Thank you. Obrigada, pessoal.
Débora, bem-vinda.
Obrigada.
Eu sei que talvez você não tenha ainda se familiarizado com o nosso novo formato, mas com certeza você conhece o Telling the News.
Yes, I do. Conheço como professora de criança há muito tempo, conheço.
Então por que você não fala para os nossos ouvintes o que é o Telling the News?
Telling the News é uma abordagem de rotina, então a gente passa a bola, o lion, whatever it is, para botar ordem nas crianças em sala de aula para que cada uma fale de uma vez. E quem tiver com o Lion na mão, aqui no nosso caso, vai poder falar.
Exato.
É isso aí.
Existe todo um princípio
Exato,
pedagógico
pedagógico
e psicológico, né? Então a gente também usa esse artifício aqui para que os nossos convidados se sintam mais à vontade, né? Para que a gente
quebrar
um pouco o gelo, né? E diminuir a nossa ansiedade, porque a gente só fala quando a gente está com o Lion em mãos, não é mesmo? Então vou falar pro meu querido amigo Bill, primeiro contar a sua novidade.
E agora os coleguinhas só ouvem, tá?
Exatamente, Só fala na sua vez, vamos lá.
Bem, essa semana eu fiz uma coisa que fazia muito tempo que eu não fazia, que foi terminar um jogo, game. Eu zerei um jogo, mas é um jogo curto, cerca de 7 horas. E esse jogo, na verdade, assim, essa novidade, né, digamos, ela tem tudo a ver com o nosso podcast, porque o primeiro episódio foi sobre sotaques e um dos sotaques que a gente falou, mencionou assim, brevemente, foi o sotaque escocês, que é um dos mais peculiares, né, entre os falantes de inglês aí ao redor do mundo. É bem difícil de entender, na minha opinião, e tem, não é só o sotaque em si, mas um vocabulário próprio também, palavras que só eles usam, e muitos até, volto a dizer, né, English speakers, assim, native English speakers ao redor do mundo não conhecem aquele vocabulário. O jogo chama Still Wakes the Deep, tá? É um lançamento, e esse jogo tem apenas personagens escoceses. Todos os personagens são escoceses, eles passam na metade da década de 70. Então é uma imersão, com perdão do trocadilho, porque eles passam no mar, né? Numa plataforma de petróleo, mas enfim. E aí é uma imersão no sotaque e na cultura escocesa. Então eu recomendo muito pra quem quer saber mais sobre esse sotaque. Pra vocês terem uma ideia, é tão peculiar que quando você começa o jogo, ele pergunta qual a legenda que você quer. Tem lá English e tem o English, tipo, pra quem não é escocês.
Que
então,
demais.
na legenda, tem palavras que eles usam durante o jogo que eles meio que traduzem na legenda também. Por exemplo, uma das mais famosas, muitos de vocês devem conhecer, é we, pra small, né?
Sim.
Então, até hoje, né? Muita
He's a
gente
wee
usa.
lad.
A wee lad, like me, exactly. Então, lá aparece small ou little. Então, é muito legal porque a legenda, apesar de ser em inglês, tem uma tradução, digamos assim, do inglês, digamos, né, escocês, pro mais conhecido. Então, é muito legal, recomendo Still Wakes the Deep.
Legal, sensacional.
Que é o assunto de hoje, videogames. Acho que podia dar spoiler, né? Mas tudo bem.
Podia. Débora.
Ok, eu não vou falar de videogames. Apesar de ser nosso assunto hoje. Lion, que saudade dele. Ontem eu fiz uma coisa que eu não fazia há muito tempo, que é maratonar uma série.
Uau.
Então, estava em casa, sem a Babi, sem a criança, estava na vovó. E aí, aquele frio, ficamos eu e meu marido deitados no sofá, assistindo um episódio atrás do outro. Eu acho que não é uma série nova, mas eu não tinha visto ainda, que é a Nine Perfect Strangers, 9 Desconhecidos, com a
Não
Nicole
conheço.
Kidman. Tá na Amazon Prime e é uma coisa assim, meio White Lotus. É bem esquisita, não terminamos ainda, mas fazia muito tempo que eu não binge-watched. Né? Não, assim, acho que a gente assistiu ali 4 episódios, um em seguida do outro.
Nossa, episódios de 1 hora? Aqueles episódios longos? Nossa.
43,
Longo,
45 minutos. Mas foi gostoso. Recomendado. Nine Perfect Strangers.
Sensacional.
Muito legal.
Muito bem.
Your turn, Caio.
Muito bem. Bom, eu também não vou falar de videogames. Eu vou contar, na verdade, uma notícia trágica que aconteceu comigo. Acho que o Bill já sabe, ficou sabendo. Há umas 3 semanas eu fui mordido por um cachorro na rua.
Meu Deus.
Um pastor alemão.
Meu Deus.
Uma cachorra, na verdade. E o interessante sobre isso é que eu adoro cachorros, né? Eu adoro animais, eu tenho 3 gatos, eu sempre amei cachorro e por esse motivo eu não tenho medo de cachorro grande, né? Então, geralmente eu passo tranquilamente na calçada do lado de cachorros e etc. Mas era um domingo de manhã, tinha comprado pão para tomar café e fui passar do lado dessas 2 senhoras, que uma levava um Golden Retriever e a outra levava uma pastora alemã nas suas coleiras, né? E eu não sei porquê, acho que a cachorra se encantou com a minha panturrilha e resolveu dar uma mordidinha
Meu
ali.
Deus.
E assim, foi assim, bastante traumático, assim. Tive que ir no hospital e, né, houve muito sangramento
Gore,
ali. Foi
gore.
bem gore,
Meu
assim. Foi um negócio,
Deus.
assim, bastante assustador na hora, assim, mas resolvido de uma forma muito rápida. Ela prestou socorro, me levou no médico. 10 dias de antibiótico, o cachorro era vacinado.
Você foi no carro junto com a pastora alemã.
Não, ela morava em frente, assim, ao
Tá,
local.
porque ia
Ela
ser
deixou
meio
os
ó-
cachorros...
Ia ser meio constrangedor, não sei,
o
né,
cachorro,
cara? Ela,
né,
olha
falou
o que
assim,
você
pô,
fez, né?
Até o cachorro até ficou meio se
Sem
sentiu
graça.
mal.
É.
Tadinho.
Então o cachorro era bonzinho, assim, logo depois que aconteceu, a moça falou assim, senta, fulana. Ela sentou, ficou lá paralisada, assim, acho que, sei lá, se assustou, né? Eu tava passando de patinete também, talvez ela não,
Isso explica muita
não
coisa.
fosse acostumada a ver aquilo, né? Aí eu achou que eu era meio Faria Limer, falou, sai daqui. Né?
Mas era o elétrico?
Elétrico,
Mano, ainda existe.
Eu tenho 2, na verdade.
Você roubou.
Por
lá
falta
da-
de um.
da
Não,
Yellow.
eu comprei.
Ah, você comprou?
Comprei, não roubei, não. Porque é isso, cara. Assim, não, o cachorro teria razão, né, em me morder. Mas, enfim, talvez tenha se assustado, né? Mas aí fica aí, né? Uma alerta, né? Ó, se você tem um cachorro grande, use focinheira.
Sim.
Ou alimente o cachorro antes de sair pra passear, porque, cara,
Ou isso, né?
acho que viu sua panturrilha, sabe igual o desenho, vira um frango.
Exato.
Uma coxinha
Foi
de
o que eu
leve.
imaginei, assim, cara, é terrível, assim. Mas, ó, prestem atenção aí, né? Porque você pode causar um problema pra outra pessoa e pra você também. Imagina,
sim.
domingo de manhã, você tem
Já
que levar
estragou
a
o
pessoa-
Com
domingo,
certeza.
liga
E
aquela
existe
baixaria.
lei a respeito de focinheira, inclusive, né? Então,
Exatamente, bem complicado aí, pessoal. Então, é isso aí. Fica a dica. de agora em diante, a nossa conversa vai ser 100% in English, tá? Então, se você ainda não se sente à vontade em acompanhar a conversa e acha que precisa de um pouco de ajuda, você pode ligar aqui o Closed Captions do YouTube, né?
E aproveita e já dá o like também, já deixa o like pra não esquecer.
Exatamente,
Que é
já tá ali do
né?
lado,
Pronto,
já aperta o botão do
aí,
like.
pronto.
Já era pra ter apertado, né?
É.
Não apertou ainda por quê? Ó, poxa vida. E se você quiser um pouco mais de desafio, você pode escutar esse episódio, esse mesmo episódio aqui, lá no Spotify. Né? Sem as imagens, só o som. Então, se você quiser um pouquinho mais trabalhar a sua compreensão oral, escuta a gente lá.
Mas não tem as nossas lindas faces, então...
Exato. Give and take, né? Muito bem. Very well. So, today's episode is about the impact of video games in
Yay.
our lives. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this is something we much enjoy to discuss.
I do too, although I'm not wearing a t-shirt. I do too.
She didn't get the memo.
I did not.
Exactly, unfortunately. But as I told you guys before, Deborah is an old school gamer, like we are, right?
Yeah.
We are a bit older school than her.
Oh, thanks
Okay,
for saying
yeah.
that. I feel much better now.
Ah, you are.
We are.
young.
I am like ancient school. But okay.
Very well. Well, as we're talking about Asian history here,
Oh my God.
I guess we should start telling our listeners a bit of our story, right? Our journey as a video gamer. I'll use the term video gamer because I personally don't like to be called a gamer
Oh, really?
for some reasons. I don't like to be recognized as a member of this community, but we're going to talk more about that later.
True.
I'll make myself explain. So, Deborah, why don't you tell us how did you first
Yeah.
engage with games?
Well, I was around perhaps 6 or 7, and I have an older brother. He's 2.5 years older than me. And at the time, my father bought what I believe what we call today, I'm going to have to say that in Portuguese, Nintendinho 8 bits.
NES. NES.
NS. Thank
NES,
you. Yes.
exactly.
And I was a bit too young to play. I didn't have the skills or whatever, but I used to watch my father and my brother play all the time. I remember we stayed up all night, and I was just watching and having fun. It's much better than watching television back then because we didn't have cable or any TV shows that were actually suited for children at night, especially.
Yeah.
But and I remember that my brother used to enjoy playing RPG games.
Oh.
And then I noticed that the characters were trying to say something. I know that it was in Portuguese. So I remember, perhaps I was a little bit older then, but I remember actually getting a dictionary, a bilingual dictionary, and trying to help my brother go for the words, because in RPG games you need to know what people want. You
Definitely.
need to crack codes and etc. You need to know where to go, especially. So I remember I was trying to help him, like figured out what he had to do. And this is my favorite thing ever. Even today, I do play games, but my favorite activity is to be a co-pilot, actually.
Oh, nice.
So I love being beside someone who's playing, and then I go like, you have to go there, especially for people who don't speak English, even though today we have lots of games that are translated and
Yes.
everything. But it's my favorite activity ever to tell people what to do, basically, when they're playing, although I hate it when they do it to me. I hate it, absolutely
Really?
hate it, yes.
You don't like people watching you play?
No, I mean, watching is fine, but telling me what I have
Okay.
to do,
Don't
no.
tell me what I...
Yeah, it kind of spoils the experience
Yeah.
of like, figuring out on your own, isn't it?
Exactly. But
Yeah.
I love doing it to someone else.
Yeah.
So
Very interesting.
Actually, I was going to say that it must be really nice because I sort of like when people watch me play,
yeah,
and it's kind of like it's like a shared experience. Not necessarily playing together, but as an only child, I didn't have much of the opportunity of having this type of experience. But I do like it, like when other people, watch, especially these narrative games, because I think sometimes it's hard to put in words when you try to explain someone else, right?
Yeah.
How cool it was. I think it's only when you're there, taking deciding what to do in games, that you can really know what that is all about,
Exactly.
isn't it?
Definitely, man. Yeah.
What about you, Bill? How did you come to be a video gamer?
I think it was like the late 80s or early 90s. I think my uncle had it was called Telejogo. It's even
I'm
it's
sorry.
even older than the Atari, the one that I'm wearing a t-shirt, And this console is actually very interesting because first it was made of wood
Yeah.
and plastic, and one of the manufacturers was Ford, the car manufacturer.
yeah.
It was a partnership between Ford and Philco, right? And this game had no cartridge slot or disc reader or anything. Actually, all the games came pre-installed already. It was
Right.
10 games.
Right.
But the 10 games, they were actually 10 variations of Pong.
Ah, yeah. I was going to say that.
You
A
probably
classic.
know Pong,
Uh-huh.
right? So you have the two bars here that you can go up and down, and then doop, 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 doop. It's like a dot, right? Which
Yeah.
is supposed to resemble a ball.
So
and then
much
you
fun.
had sorry.
So much fun.
But the thing is like, okay, so let's switch to volleyball. It's like the same thing, but there is what was supposed again to be a net.
A net.
It was like a line in the middle, so you had to imagine. It was a lot of make believe. There was a lot of make believe involved.
Yeah.
But I liked it, and then I was always like one generation behind. So when the
Oh, yeah?
Super Nintendo was released, my dad gave me an NES.
Right.
And then Super Nintendo, and then PS1, etc. I only caught up with the generations when I started working, obviously.
Yeah.
And then the PS3 was my first console that I was like, okay.
That you owned.
Exactly. It was not like as soon as it came out,
Right.
a few years later, but when the PS3 came out, actually, it was not a good idea to buy one. I don't know if we're going to get into that, but you probably know what I'm talking about. But then, but that's it. And then now I have... Now we talked about this on the podcast a few years ago when it was available only on Spotify. I play on all platforms, but it's not the same thrill.
What do you
it's
mean?
funny. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was more dedicated, let's say, when I had only one console, for example, the PS3.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Because, okay, this is what I have, and these are the games that I'm going to play. And now there are so many things,
So many
So
options.
many options, exactly. And anyway, but we're going to get into that later. Sorry,
And I
got
think
carried away.
that games are, even though they're getting more and more polished and realistic, they're not as impressive as they used to be. What I'm trying to say is, when games, they were more about make believe, you had to imagine things, they used to represent things of real life, I think it was much more instigating. So it was like, oh, this is so cool, this is like when it looks like. And nowadays it's so close to reality that sometimes, I'm not saying that this is a disadvantage, right? But I guess that it kind of spoils that kind of feeling, right? We used to have when we play these games.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I mean, I don't want to be the ancient gamer that is going to defend the old generation, so I'll have to defend some of the newer generations as well. I see what you're saying, Caio. You're saying that there was much more up to our imagination, like, is this a volleyball game or is it simply Pong or whatever it was called? But then on the other hand, if you go through the experience of playing a game that is has a lore, that has a different reality, or that refers something to literature or even series or films, I think that the different angle here is that even though you don't have to imagine so many things, because it really looks like you're there, that you're going through that experience, I think it is much more demanding in terms of the mechanics. So whatever it's whatever you do has sort of a consequence, which comes a little bit from RPG. But I'm actually talking about the mechanics of having to press certain buttons and then the consequence of that. So there isn't much up to our minds to fill in the gaps because everything's there. But what I have to do with my hands, actually, it's much more. Because if you think of the controller you had, for example, for that video game, you were saying it was probably just like a button.
Exactly.
And nowadays,
one button.
there's much you can do. The mechanics, the physics into newer games, they're very rich, I would say.
They're much more complex as well.
And you can do so many different things, right?
Yeah, I guess that's exactly the point. I was about to say that my history as a gamer actually really started. I think that in that podcast we talked about video games. I also told the story, right? My first console was Sega Mega Drive, Sega Genesis. Then I had SNES, but I guess that up to when I was 10 or 11 years old, video games, they were just part of my childhood. I'm proud to say that, I had a very old school childhood. I used to play with my friends on the street, play soccer and all kinds of games. And there were also video games. Mm-hmm. But when I became a preteen, and then I remember that was when my parents moved to a different neighborhood. And then all my friends were left behind. I started to spend much more time with video games. Mm-hmm. And that was when I got my first PlayStation, and that was the turn of the tide for me.
The downfall.
Yeah, because games, they took an entirely new dimension. Yeah. As Deborah was saying here, right? They became much more narrative. And it was also when I started to first notice the use of my English lessons my parents paid for. Because I remember playing the first Resident Evil, and it was really cool because I was little by little starting to understand what they were saying in the game.
I was an excellent co-pilot for Resident Evil with my brother, an excellent one. I used to tell him where to go and where to find things. I have very vivid memories of it. It's super cool.
And thank God you could exercise your English in this particular game because the dialogue is just so rich, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm being ironic because it's ridiculous. you almost became a Jill sandwich. Like,
exactly.
And I was like, yes, absolutely, Rich.
The very first line I said,
but I'm
wow,
joking, yeah.
What a mention. Like, thank you, Captain Obvious.
Yeah,
right?
no, but at that time, voice acting, was completely different, right? Like voice acting in video games. So that was really impressive. It was really a movie-like experience, a cinematic experience, right?
But you mentioned that the dialogues, they were cheesy and like very, very simple. But I guess that it was kind of the plan. Because
B-movie.
Because
Definitely.
Exactly, Resident Evil was a tribute to B movies, right? All the actors, they were kind of
campy, right? It's totally campy.
Yeah. So it was really fun, but I guess that the 32 bits era brought this element that was not so present in the previous generation, which was like voice acting, right? Like know, and videos like CGI. And
even translation, right? Because then now lots of games, I don't know if I have to say fortunately or unfortunately. I mean, it's fortunate that it is accessible to everyone. But then on the other hand, we kind of lose this thing of I have to make an effort to understand English, to know what I'm going to do when I'm playing video games, right? So there's this... couple of friends, they have I think he's 15, a 15-year-old boy, and he used to play Arkham City, I think. And it was the first time that I heard voiceover in Portuguese, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. But then at the same time, he's not going to learn English from it because it's...
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of bittersweet, right?
Exactly.
It's true.
Yeah. It's good to see that developers and companies, they are acknowledging Brazil, for example.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, you don't have the need, because we learned English out of necessity.
Absolutely.
At that time, or at least we try to advance our studies, because okay, we had English in school, or maybe we had a private teacher, but okay, I want to know more. I want to speed it up, because I really want to get what all these I want to get the dialogues and everything. You mentioned that the most remarkable game in my life and also in yours was Metal Gear Solid, the first one, right? 98, if I'm not mistaken. And again, there were cutscenes that lasted almost 30 minutes, I think, in that game. It was 2 discs, right? 2 CDs. And you really wanted to know, and they were talking about like war and military.
And government. And
exactly, lots of politics,
right,
coup d'etat, exactly. So, I mean, you had to speed it up somehow, like
and
your studies.
great vocabulary acquisition, right? 'Cause
Totally.
if you want to talk
was
war to
stimulating.
me in English, I have the vocabulary now, right?
Yeah.
And this is something funny as well, because if we think of all the range in terms of vocabulary that you can go through, you could go like from Resident Evil, like really cheesy kind of stereotyped conversation, and then more childish games like, I don't know, Mario or something. They play with rhyming, for instance. And then you have this RPG games where they speak really kind of old English. When I was gonna say when I played Zelda Breath of the Wild, but I was much more a co-pilot of Breath of the Wild than I played it. I actually played it 80 hours, so I kind of played it, but I learned so much. Like there's this, it's kind of sweet to know that you can learn new vocabulary at our age. I'm gonna say our. And from sources that are not the classroom or a teacher or when we are studying about teaching and everything else. It's like learning English informally. So you can learn even old English in that way, or you can learn how to have an informal conversation by playing other games, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think that's, in a way, it's real life language, because you kind of learn the meaning of some kind of term, and you immediately see the use of it, right? So it's because video games, they kind of simulate situations. I think that's why it's sometimes much more effective when we learn vocabulary from these sources than from a textbook. Isn't
Absolutely.
it? Yeah.
Definitely.
Do you remember, Deborah, any terms that you have learned from a video game?
Oh, I'm not gonna remember one now. Not one specifically. I know I learned many things from Zelda, because there's lots of words related to this fantasy world and so on. But I was thinking of the terms that we kind of not translate, but we try to translate into Portuguese. Like I hear my 8-year-old daughter saying, entra no meu serve, like for server, and she loves playing Roblox. But, hi, baby, oi. She loves playing Roblox with her friends, and they're using this language that is not actually common to us, right? Because if we think we're cool because we're saying things like, I don't know, login or whatever it is, this is much dated already, right?
Download.
Download or whatever. Why do I have to
Definitely
download
not
something?
cool. Yeah,
cool.
So there's and it's also contributing to this kind of renewal of the language that is used in technology as a whole.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But I think it's really interesting what Caio mentioned, the way we absorb vocabulary in different ways depending on the source, right? You can read books, you can watch stuff, listen to music and acquire vocabulary, but I think it's very interesting what you said. I had never thought of that. The way you interact with the elements in a game, because video games are all about interaction and the player protagonism. I think this helps assimilate vocabulary in a much more effective way. One thing that I thought when you mentioned Breath of the Wild is that we can learn a lot maybe one of the let's say topics of vocabulary that we learn the most in video games is geography
I was
vocabulary.
gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Words like prairie or
Yeah.
clearing and
All kinds of mountains, like hill,
Exactly.
mountain, wherever.
Because I think this is a vocabulary that even it's funny because sometimes you when you search for the translation, let's say, sometimes in Portuguese you have this word that is very very obscure because
Or general, right?
Exactly.
It's not that specific.
exactly exactly. So in English you have plains, you have prairie, you
Mm-hmm.
have like it's really crazy, right?
It is. It is. And not only this type of vocabulary, but I think that much more frequently nouns, right? So because there are many items in games.
Yeah.
I remember
Absolutely.
I learned from Resident Evil what a crank is, which is manivela.
And almost every game has this,
A
right?
crank, exactly. Or sometimes verbs, because you have to do some kind of actions like pry something open,
Fantastic.
like
Yeah.
force a door
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
Pry the
Definitely.
door.
Or Perry, right?
Berry, exactly.
Mhm.
Yes.
And you mentioned nouns, and I'm thinking now I am actually watching my husband play Lords of the Fallen. And it's like this super RPG thing, and it's kind of scary. And there are items, but these items are kind of special because it's not just the stone, it's the divine stone or of whatever it is. So you need to know all the qualities it
I
has
know.
and all the defenses, like it's anti-bleeding or anti-poison or whatever. So you kind of have to learn. You kind of have to learn what the adjectives are to apply it correctly, right?
Very interesting.
Exactly. There's some kind of reading comprehension skills taking place there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, some of the first games ever invented were what they call text-based adventures. And there is one that is Hugo's House of Horror. This game is said to have inspired George Lucas to enter the world of video games. He created LucasArts,
Yeah.
which was responsible for some of the greatest games of the 90s. And in this game, these games actually you only had text. You could only type commands. So, for example, you had to actually type open door. And
Right.
your knowledge of verbs needed to be like really, I mean, this is something that was not very accessible in Brazil. I played these games like decades after
Yeah.
they were released. But I think it's amazing to see how language was deeply
basis.
connected exactly to the player interaction at first, because
Yeah.
these text-based adventures, everything you had was language, and this is something that very few of us could have enjoyed back then.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, when I started learning English through video games, I just translated a few words. I was never into the RPGs like Chrono Trigger, for example, or Final. I never played these games back then. I only played simple platform games, and sometimes I got the dictionary just like you said, but just to understand a very clear instructions, or just because I was curious, like you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like you had in Super Mario World, you had donut planes. I think it's one of the first levels there. And I was like, okay, what is a plane? Okay, so it's like this.
What is a donut?
land.
Or what is it?
Yeah, donut, okay, because we had Dunkin' Donuts right back then. But anyway,
But you know what? It's interesting because I just remembered when I was very little and I had a physical dictionary in my hands because, of course, no internet
Yeah.
back then, right?
definitely.
And my brother used to play this game called Star Tropics, and again, RPG. Yeah, we're nerds. You could actually talk to the animals in the villages and everything. And then he went to talk to a pig, and then there was this box there written oink, and then I was looking at the dictionary like,
What's
what
an
does
oink?
what's oink? I really remember that. I was like, oh no, that's not actually, this is
Yeah.
pig talk, this is not English.
Because what's the term for that? The sound animals make? It's in
That's onomatopeia em português.
Yeah, no, but I think there is
onomatopoeia.
onomatopoeia. No, yeah, onomatopoeia. But
Is
yeah,
it?
is it
Is
an
it?
onomatopoeia?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the
Okay.
term.
Yeah.
I was just checking. They're not exactly the same as in Portuguese.
Yeah.
Right?
Luckily, pigs
Some
talk the
are.
same in
Oink,
Portuguese
yes.
and in
Oink is
English.
the
Yeah.
same, yeah.
Oink. Yeah, probably. But like dogs, they
Woof.
woof. Right? And then
What
Portuguese
about-
like ow,
Ow.
ow.
What about cock-a-doodle-doo?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
exactly, right.
It's like Cocorico, but then again,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah, like not that
Impact.
complex, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if I may, still talking about language, it's interesting to see the same thing happening again because I used to play video games with my brother when I was younger, and then there was this big hiatus where I started going to university. I got my first job. I started teaching, and life as a teacher is kind of crazy in terms of schedule and everything else. And then during the pandemic times, we bought a video game again, my husband and I. So I spent like 20 years without playing it.
Wow.
And then in the pandemic, my daughter was 4, and then we were like, we have to buy a Nintendo Wii so she gets to move around a little bit and play with the
Nice.
joystick and everything. And then we started all over again, and then my husband became a gamer, and then now I see my daughter learning lots about, I don't know, wizard stuff and potions and etc. because she's playing Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
So she has this very vast vocabulary in terms of the magic world
Yeah.
or whatever. So
Very
it's kind of interesting to see how it goes from generation to generation.
It's
right?
true. And I think it was a very interesting move from Nintendo. I think Nintendo deserves a lot of criticism about a lot of
Yes.
things they do, but they are very smart in the way they innovate.
Definitely.
I mean, Nintendo
right?
Wii
Hardware.
was, a stepping stone
For
for
everything
so
else.
many old timers like us to get back into video games. At
And
the
to
same
get
time,
fit.
to get fit, yeah, because it was really, really accessible, right? People who couldn't handle a controller or a joystick could easily grasp the idea of moving a controller in order to simulate a tennis racket
Yeah.
or
All sorts of
whatever,
stuff, yeah.
right? So it's really cool. And another interesting point is what Deborah is mentioning about her relationship with video games as a parent, because I don't remember my parents being so much of enthusiasts of video games. Actually, there was a lot of prejudice back
Quite
in the day,
the
wasn't
opposite.
it?
My parents have always despised video games. My father has never touched a controller as much as I asked him to, like when I was, let's play. He said, no, not a chance. And my mother, sometimes she looked at the screen and something that put a lot of parents off back then is because the games were extremely repetitive and there was only one song that played throughout the entire game. This song had like 30
Yeah.
seconds and it was playing in a loop. This is
Some of them were great, as a matter of fact.
yeah, but my mother is still
DuckTales.
traumatized.
Wow.
Yeah, but my mother is still traumatized by those 8-bit
I get her.
tunes that
I know.
played. I used to play all afternoon, so she's still traumatized. I mean, it's something that,
You remember Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Story, from the SNES, Super Nintendo.
Yeah, it was like cartoonish graphics,
Exactly.
right? Wow,
And
very beautiful.
You used to
With the
play
eggs.
as Yoshi, and he would carry Baby,
Baby
Mario.
Mario.
And the sound of Baby
Yeah,
Mario was
crying.
really annoying.
But you know what? When my daughter was a bit, my mom, I'm gonna talk about my daughter all the time. When she was a bit younger, we used to challenge her. We used to play different Mario themes on our mobile phones.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Awesome.
she would go like, Mario World 3D, whatever. This is the first Mario. We would play
Wow.
tracks from all of Mario eras, and she would know. It was amazing.
She could identify
She
like
could. She
what,
could,
what
like,
game that was
Super
from.
Mario 3D, whatever.
Wow, that's so awesome.
This is Mario Odyssey. This is Nintendo 64. The
My God.
water phase of it was.
Wow, that's really
And it's
impressive,
really
right?
impressive. I mean, I'm wearing a PlayStation T-shirt, but once again, I'm going to compliment Nintendo of that because it's really, really shocking how a character like Mario, withstood the test of time. Right?
Absolutely.
For so many generations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Babi is now 8 years old and she recognizes Mario, right?
Yeah.
We played Mario and maybe some of maybe not our parents, but some of our friends' parents would recognize Mario as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with students, when we talk about video games
Absolutely.
in class, Mario is always the example that I use at least, and everybody knows Mario. Like
Yeah.
every single
It's
person.
timeless.
Exactly. So it's amazing, right? Nintendo definitely had a way of. I mean, obviously you have like Kirby and other characters that are not so recognizable, but
Link and Zelda, please.
yeah. I mean, there are still games,
Yeah.
right? But maybe they are not so recognizable for the
Yeah.
wider audience.
Exactly.
But Mario definitely, but just something that I remembered now. My mother used. I don't know if she's watching, right? But she used to. What she hated the most. It was what she called the moaning lady. Like, come on, you are not gonna play the moaning lady. I was like, what? And it was like Tomb Raider because Lara.
Oh my!
When she was climbing, she used to, anyway, and then, like, and
It's
my mother
also-
used to hate
yeah.
that. Please turn down the volume because I can't stand this moaning lady all day. I was like, well, okay, but it's Lara, she's just climbing stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really crazy.
When,
right?
when you were a teenager, did you fall for the trap that there used to be a cheat code on Tomb Raider?
Oh, no, let's not go there. This has to be.
You
I
guys know
you're
what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
just let's.
So if you were a boy back in the what was it in the 90s,
the mid 90s.
yeah, you know what we were talking about.
We are almost running out of time, but I just want to go back very quickly to something that you were saying about how we have become maybe desensitized when it comes to graphics and stuff. One of the reasons why I decided to wear this Atari shirt today is because I'll give you an example. You probably know Enduro.
Yeah.
Enduro, yeah.
It's the racing game, right?
Yeah.
That came out in the 70s or 80s. I mean, in Brazil, we there was always this delay in the
Yeah.
past. We were always like maybe 5 years or even a decade behind. But Enduro is a great example of what you can do with serious hardware limitations and the illusion of different weather conditions.
It's true.
With
Day
that
and
hardware,
night,
they had
yeah.
day and night, exactly. The fog, right? So
Yeah.
you limit the field of view from the player and you emulate, you simulate fog.
Yeah.
The headlights, right? You had to,
Yeah.
you couldn't see the car, so you had to go. I mean, again, these are just dots on a screen.
Yeah.
And different colors. They had 16 colors, I think, back then.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what these developers did to me until today. I mean, when I think of hardware limitations, I think that going back to what you said about imagination, it's not only the players, but the developers
Absolutely.
themselves. Nowadays, they have things like Unreal Engine, and you have all these assets, right? So you put some hay here and tumbleweed there on the scenery. But at that time, you had to make do with that. It's dots on a screen. You have 16 colors, and if you can create like a sense of speed and weather conditions, man, this is unbelievable. To me, it's the most impressive game. It's Enduro, so yeah, it's an absolute classic.
On another kind of sensitive topic here, what do you guys think of esports?
I wish I had the skills for that, actually, because as I was saying, I enjoy being a co-pilot a lot. I am into more indie games, like calmer things, but whenever I watch something of esports, the only thing that comes to my mind is like, how can you do that? How can you be that fast? How can you working as a group so beautifully, so skillfully? So
It's true.
yeah, I just wish I had the skills for battle and for shooting or whatever like they do.
Yeah, same here. I'm not much of these type of gaming. To be honest, I guess that the only contact I've ever had with similar games was with StarCraft, which is very, very competitive at the competitive level, right? People, they are insanely fast,
Yeah.
and it's just impossible to play it online with like the real pros. But I don't know much about this esports. What do you?
So I'm gonna suggest something.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that, but Cultura Inglesa sponsors has a partnership, right, with Vivo Kid Stars, but it's Cage. People say Vivo Cage
Cage.
Stars, right? We're gonna invite them here, can we?
Yeah.
Not now. They're not like behind the
They're not coming now.
surprise. No, but we could have them for an
Sure.
episode, and they can lecture us on esports because
Absolutely, yeah.
I know a bit about the games because, for example, FIFA is is an esport.
It is.
I
yeah.
play it, but not
Excel
online.
is actually an esport. I found out there's sorry, off topic, but I
it's
found out
true.
there's a world championship for Excel.
It's true. Yeah, people compete on that.
No,
it's true.
but that's something much closer to our reality, right? I think.
I see. But can we all agree that esports is a type of sport? Because there's a lot of controversy on that. I mean,
Is there?
some people they disagree, isn't it? There's even been like some kind of polemics recently, like with people saying that they're not sports.
Some people want to see them featured in Olympic Games, right? I
Yeah.
think this would be a bit too much because, for example, chess is not in the Olympic Games,
And
right?
it's considered a sport.
So if it's all about mental,
Yeah.
even though okay, esports they have a coach. For example, you were talking about coordinating
Yeah.
tactics. There is a coach, like
Exactly,
a person,
yeah.
telling them what to do. So obviously, it's much more teamwork based than chess. But I think that Olympic Games are a bit too much.
And
This is my opinion.
if you
okay?
think of dedication and training, they do that a lot.
Exactly.
They play for
Yeah.
hours a day and they truly dedicate to that.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I'm not against it.
And there's a
actually.
mental effort. There's physical effort.
There is.
So people they, well, there's no way of there's no denying that they are athletes.
Not at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And obviously, when we have the Vivo Kid Stars here, I'm gonna deny that I said that it's a bit too much for the Olympic Games. If they bring this up, I'll say yes, man. I want it in the next Olympic Games, please.
I mean, the Olympic Games they used to be a lot more conservative.
Yes.
Absolutely.
In the the most recent edition, they just introduced skateboarding,
Yeah.
which was
And-
not
and-
considered an Olympic sport.
And
We're
surfing
getting
too.
there.
Surfing too.
And the first champion, the first gold medal was a Brazilian guy, Italo Freitas. So
There you go.
I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
can be
so-
proud of that,
Knows,
right?
Yeah. I'm open to it. Yeah, and it's going to be a very nice opportunity to have these guys here to talk to us about it. Why don't we wrap up with a recommendation?
Oh,
That would be
yeah.
really cool, no? So maybe we should let our guests do the honors.
very
Deborah,
excited about
I know
this
you're
part.
dying to recommend yours.
I'm going to recommend an indie game called Spiritfarer. Don't know if you've heard
Oh,
about
yeah.
it. It is sort of a simulation game. So you have this boat and you need to find the resources to improve the boat. And you need to build things within the boat. And then when you go around some islands, you find some animals that actually talk to you. They don't go like oink. They do speak English with you. And you kind of find out about the stories of those animals. You find out that they're actually spirits.
Oh.
And you are, at the very beginning of the game, you are going to replace the person that is responsible for taking souls through the portal to afterlife. In
Wow.
Portuguese, it's called caronte.
Yes,
the,
Karen.
the
Uh-huh.
barqueiro. How can I say barqueiro?
The boat
The,
man.
the ferry.
The boatman. A gente vem com a errata semana que vem.
Yes.
So you replace Caronte, and you are responsible for helping those spirits at the end of their lives and going and taking them to the portal for them to go through to the afterlife. And kind of in the mid of the game, you kind of find out that you are actually a nurse in palliative care. So all those spirits were actually your patients.
Wow. Mind blowing.
Look,
Wait, isn't
I've
this
got
a
the
huge
chills.
spoiler?
No, it's not.
Ah,
It's not.
okay.
No, it's not. It's
I was
not.
like,
So
okay.
this is not the
Not
plot
at all.
twist? Oh my
Not at
God.
all. And it is a game about grieving, and it's what I love. That's why I said I love when I talk about these huge games and etc. I always see myself and talk about myself as a co-pilot, because when I play video games, I like to play those indie games that are really calm, that have a kind of a sad story. I love crying games.
Yeah.
So this game is about grieving. It's about the importance of living the moment, and
Wow.
it's so
Awesome.
beautiful. The scenery, the soundtrack is amazing. So it's truly beautiful. So Spiritfarer, you can find it on Nintendo Switch and Xbox and PlayStation, if I'm not mistaken.
And we are not being sponsored by any of them.
I'm sorry if
Unfortunately
I
not.
couldn't say their names. But that's
Unfortunately
it.
not.
And also go for indie games. There's so many great stuff from independent
Developers.
thank you, I was going to say producers, developers. And also, if I may, I would just like to say hello, to give a shout out to all the girl gamer community.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really nice to be here as a woman. I was going to say a girl, but no. As a woman talking about video games, as a mother talking about video games, because it is a bit stereotyped, like
It
it's
is
only
a
a boy
lot.
thing.
Mhm.
And I'm really proud of this journey, and I'm really proud of having a daughter who's super fan of video games. And for all the girls, the little ones, the teenagers, and the moms and the women out there who are playing, let's just keep playing. It's fun, it's relaxing, you can learn so much stuff, and
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
And it's great to see that the world moved on in that sense, and that women and actually all sorts of people are being now represented in games, right? Even though there are many people who are kind of, resistant to that. I think we don't even need to
Give
address
them,
it
yeah,
because
no, yeah.
it's-
Let's not waste our breath.
exactly
all.
right, and I think it's great. Yeah, it's awesome. Would you like to give your recommendation now?
No, I would just like to say something. I can definitely say that over the past few years, 80% or even more of the characters of all the games that I played, they were female characters.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's amazing to see that, but it's not like, okay, we
You
we
have
were joking.
Aloy and
Jill
Jill Valentine.
in Resident Evil 3, Claire in 2, and then you have I mean lots
you
of
have
indie
Ellie
games
in The Last of
Last
Us.
of Us, and Abby too, right?
Maybe.
But indie games, they have a lot of female characters. Like one of my, maybe I can recommend this game. I don't know. I wanted to, because this is not so. It's probably what 2 or 3 years old. Spiritfarer, right?
Probably,
Yeah.
maybe a bit less than that, actually.
Because I think when I think of a story that could not be told by any other media, by any other medium, just like Spiritfarer,
Yeah.
right? This type of interaction and the way you find about the plot and everything, this could not be done in a book or movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, and when I think of that. Definitely one of my favorite games ever is Firewatch, right? So this is another indie game, but they had a kind of a big budget.
Yeah.
You will see that in the visuals because it looks absolutely beautiful. But it's about a guy who is going through a crisis in his marriage, and he takes a temporary job as a. Well, he's gonna do the Firewatch, so he's gonna be
Yeah.
there in those national parks it's in the 70s too.
You love the 70s.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, actually, I had already spent my recommendation at the beginning of the episode. I'm not entitled to one more. But okay, Firewatch is unbelievable
Okay, you can do it.
because it's all based on dialogue. So you have this boss. Your boss is a woman. Her name is Delilah, and she talks to you on the walkie-talkie during the whole game. And then you have a very limited amount of time to reply, and then you have 2 or 3 options. Depending on the replies you choose, the interaction with her will be different, and the outcomes of the story will be different. So this is a great game to practice English, to exercise your listening and even your reflexes, because you have to
Yeah.
think fast, right? But it also looks great. It's very short. You can beat it in like 4 hours. And it's suited for the whole family too. This is important to say because we have a
Yeah.
lot of violent games and stuff.
Yeah.
And this one you can play definitely with your whole family, all right?
Really
Over
cool.
to you.
Yeah, well, as we are recommending indie games here, I think that we cannot go without mentioning Dave the Diver. Have you guys played Dave the Diver?
Awesome.
I haven't played it yet, but it's on my list.
It's a super awesome game which combine different play styles, different mechanics.
Yeah.
During the day, you are this diver, and then you have to, scuba dive and, fish. So you have to collect different type of fish and sea animals because at night you work at a sushi bar. And
That's fantastic. This
There's
is
a different
live.
mechanic. You have to prepare dishes using the fish you collected.
You captured.
Yeah, and then you have to worry about the
Supply and
the
whatever.
supply and how efficient is your service at the restaurant, if the customers are enjoying the food or not.
That's amazing.
And
Very
the
cool.
more you collect and more you explore the depths of the ocean, the more successful your sushi bar is.
you
So
get a
it's really
Michelin
cool.
star for you.
Maybe, yeah. I haven't played it that much, but it's definitely on my wish list. I strongly recommend it. It's on Nintendo Switch. If I'm not mistaken, it was awarded as one of the PlayStation Plus games.
Yes, at the extra catalog, extra or deluxe. So,
Yes.
it's there.
So it's
Just
probably
download it.
still available.
I love
It's
that
awesome.
we're all recommending indie games.
It's true,
That's
yeah.
a win
Amazing,
for
right?
me. That's
And
a win.
as Bill recommended two of them, I'm not going to spend much time on it, but I have to mention it, a game called Tetragon. It's a puzzle-like game. It's available on the Nintendo Switch and for PC as well, if I'm not mistaken, these two platforms. And I mentioned this game because it's a Brazilian game. It was actually developed
cool.
by a former student of mine, Alexandre Chaves.
You see?
Yeah. So I think it's worth mentioning. It's not only a very good game, he's a very talented developer. And for his own surprise, it was chosen as one of the games that Nintendo was displaying at this event they were holding. So there were booths where people could play different games by Nintendo, and his game was one of the chosen ones.
Tetragon.
People
Fantastic.
could play there.
Tetragon.
Tetragon.
Wow,
Give
that's
it a
so
go.
cool.
You
That's
see
so
where
Really
English
cool.
can take you.
cool. No, amazing,
Absolutely.
right? Amazing.
Really
Sorry,
cool.
you get one more.
Do I?
Let's be
Oh.
fair.
Alright, okay, let's
Super
be fair.
quick, another indie one. It's called Gris or Gris.
Oh, yeah.
It is also about grieving. I don't know. There was this phase of my life, but this is literally about grieving because you don't actually get much of the story, but you kind of find out that each one of the. By the way, help me, guys. How can I say phases? Is it
Levels,
phase?
right?
Stages,
Levels.
levels, yeah.
That was the word I was looking for. Thank you. Each of the levels is representing one of the
Stages.
phases or
Yeah.
stages of grieving.
Yes.
And the soundtrack is one of the best things I've ever heard in my life, and I actually have it on Spotify because it's kind of lo-fi, relaxing. It's beautiful. There's no dialogue at all, so it's all about the image and the sound, and it's amazing.
Beautiful game. Beautiful game.
Awesome. Very well. Okay, so all good recommendations. Let's move on to our How Do You Say block. Well, it's time for How Do You Say. So this is the part of our show in which we address some vocabulary items that we have used here during our conversation. Bill, você estava ali falando de como você aprendeu muitos termos relacionados à geografia, como por exemplo a palavra prairie. O que é um prairie?
Bem, eu acho que seria, em português, pradaria, né?
Sim.
Que é onde você compra prão. Não, tô
Prão.
mas assim, a pradaria na nossa geografia aqui seriam os pampas, né?
Isso.
Então aquela planície com aquela grama bonita, as vaquinhas pastando.
Aquela relva, né?
Relva
Isso.
maravilhosa, muito bonito, né?
Exatamente. Prairie.
Prados também pode ser prado, né?
Prado?
É.
Será?
Pradaria é quando tem vários prados perto um do outro, assim.
É o coletivo.
Entendi. Entendi. Prado. Você sabia que nas primeiras traduções do Homem-Aranha em português, o Peter Parker se chamava Pedro Prado? É até difícil de falar. Pedro Prado.
Não é possível, mano.
É sério. É sério. Você que é old school, gosta de HQ...
Nossa, mas é muito difícil
Confirma.
falar Pedro Prado, Pedro
então, acho que por isso que
Pedro
existiram.
Prado.
É muito difícil, né?
Nossa, mano. Caião, você falou um negócio interessante do Mario,
Ah,
que ele stood the test of time.
exatamente. Exatamente. Stood the test of time. É uma expressão que significa que algo, literalmente, venceu o teste do tempo. Então quer dizer que uma coisa ela é tão memorável, ela foi tão icônica e marcante que ela ultrapassou gerações. Não é mesmo?
Como Mario.
Como o Mario.
Ainda atual, é o famoso ainda atual.
Exatamente. E Débora, você usou uma palavra que eu gosto muito, que é a palavra lore.
Sim.
Explica pra gente o que é um lore.
Lore, inclusive, é uma palavra que eu aprendi há pouco tempo por conta de videogame. Não conhecia. Acho que talvez fora da referência de videogames, se eu mencionar Senhor dos Anéis, por exemplo, a gente conhece os 3 livros, né, que foram transformados em filmes, mas o universo do Senhor dos Anéis também tem a história do Hobbit e do Silmarillion, que vai lá no começo, dos elfos e etc. Então, a lore, ela é todo esse universo, essa história, não só a história do que está acontecendo ali, no momento que está sendo retratado ali no jogo, mas existem gerações anteriores, posteriores e etc. Então,
Toda a mitologia ali
Isso.
da história, né?
Muito bom.
Inclusive, a palavra folklore vem da
Folk,
combinação das duas
lore.
palavras, né? De folk.
Povo.
E lore.
Chocada, chocadíssima. Aprendi mais uma coisa hoje.
A gente adora word formation, né? Aqui, assim,
Folklore,
vem
muito
com
bem.
essas ideias aí.
Perfeito.
Você mencionou, Caio, de onomatopeia, né? Então, vamos falar um pouquinho disso, porque isso é uma palavra que a gente tem em português e em inglês, é muito parecida à escrita e...
Exatamente.
Falar um pouco dessa pronúncia.
Onomatopeia, né? É uma palavra que, pela grafia dela, provavelmente uma palavra vem do latim, né? E ela é uma palavra, assim, ela é um jargão, né? De
Figuras de
linguística,
linguagem.
né? São figuras de linguagem, né? Então a gente chama de onomatopeia os sons, né? Que os animais ou algumas coisas produzem, né? Então aquele barulhinho, né? Não só de animais, né? O cachorro latindo, né? Em português é au, au. Em inglês é woof, woof. Ou bark, bark. Que é exatamente o verbo, né? Que a gente usa para latir, né? Mas também outros sons, né? Do tic-tac do relógio.
Ou se a gente pensar nas HQs, os sock, pô, etc.
Exato.
Né?
Exatamente, então é muito usado nos comics, né? E o interessante é que na língua inglesa, muitas onomatopeias são também os verbos. Por exemplo, knock ou pop, tipo pop the balloon.
Very
Então,
nice.
é tanto o verbo quanto a onomatopeia em si. Onomatopeia é difícil falar, né?
Onomatopeia em si. Exatamente. Débora, você usou em mais de uma ocasião o verbo grieve.
As minhas 2 recomendações são a respeito disso. Grieve é o luto, né? Então, perder uma pessoa importante e esse período do pós, que você tem que lidar ali com aquelas muitas emoções. Um dos jogos que eu mencionei, inclusive, as fases do jogo, tem cada uma dessas fases do luto, né? E é isso. Pra quem gosta de sofrer, chorar um pouquinho com esses jogos, vamos grieve os nossos queridos personagens ali dos jogos.
Qual o verbo em português, né? Porque a gente tem a palavra grief, né? Que é luto. E você está de luto. A gente
Ou
tem
fica.
A gente não tem um verbo, né? Tipo,
Não, é ficar ou estar de luto.
Exato, é uma collocation, né? Em inglês a gente tem um verbo pra isso, né?
Exatamente.
Grieve, I'm grieving, né? Muito interessante.
What about cartridge? Essa é polêmica, porque...
Cartridge, exato.
O cartridge é o seguinte, né? Então, os primeiros consoles, eles usavam cartuchos, mas no Brasil a gente geralmente chamava de fita e não cartucho. Cartucho era o termo técnico. Tinha lá na caixa, então vamos falar fita, alugar fita, né? Alugar... Aqui, ó. Né? Então aqui, apesar de hoje em dia chamarem mais de game card também, né? Porque é bem pequenininho, mas o cartridge, ele é uma fita de videogame, um cartucho. Por isso que tem o famoso blow the cartridge, né? Então você assoprava lá e tinha nas instruções lá na própria fita, no cartucho, do not blow into the cartridge. E todo mundo ignorava.
Sim.
E falavam que até a babinha que voava é o que fazia os circuitos
funcionar, com
né?
certeza.
Inclusive, uma curiosidade aí, o cartridge aqui do Nintendo Switch, se você lamber, ele tem gosto ruim. É sério. Foi uma medida que a Nintendo fez para evitar que as crianças engolissem os cartuchos, porque eles são muito pequenininhos.
Porque antes era delicioso.
Não sei, mas você coloca na boca é muito ruim, aí você cospe.
Meu Deus!
Mano, eu fico imaginando
Bom, onde
essa
existe
Não que eu
uma
tenha
lei.
testado pra ver se tem
então.
mesmo. Mas...
Aonde
Se tem lei,
existe
tem
um
história.
regulamento,
É.
porque
Se
exatamente.
tem lei, tem história.
Exatamente. E se você não ouviu ou não notou esses termos durante o nosso episódio, você pode voltar e tentar identificar a todos eles. Terminamos aqui mais um episódio do nosso Cultura Inglesa Podcast. Já sabe, se você gostou, você deixa um like. Já era pra ter deixado, né? Mas a gente pede de novo, novamente. Se inscrevam no canal, se vocês estão gostando, divulguem. Mostre pros seus coleguinhas de sala. E deixe um comentário. Fala se vocês gostaram, quais são os jogos que marcaram a sua infância. Você aprendeu inglês? Algum termo em inglês? Ou você se sentiu mais estimulado a aprender, né? Por causa de algum jogo de videogame? Deixa o comentário aí pra gente saber o que você está achando.
Não se esqueça de visitar a Cultura Inglesa também no Instagram e no TikTok.
Muito bem. E, se você puder, visitar a nossa exposição, né, Bill? Que você falou da...
90 anos de cultura inglesa. Rua Ferreira de Araújo,
741.
741, no CBB, Centro Britânico Brasileiro. Vai lá. Se tiver algum erro lá na tradução, pode cobrar a gente aqui.
Eu cobro o Bill, que foi ele que errou. Muito bem. E, Débora, mais uma vez, muito obrigado pela sua
Obrigada.
participação.
Obrigada pelo convite, adorei.
E vamos jogar mais joguinhos.
Vamos.
Let's play.
É isso aí. See you guys next time. Bye.